But how is DRX getting away with this? How in the world is DRX getting away? All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I promised that we would get back into the grind for new content, and here we are. We are about 2.5 weeks away from the start of VCT 2024, and the Pacific kickoff will be starting on February 17th, as you can see on your screen. So today we're just going to go through, do a quick little pick'em run. We're not going to go too deep into the teams. We're not going to do an overall power ranking. If you are curious about my other thoughts, there's other pieces of content out there where I've shared it. I'll share that on social media. I'll probably link it down in the descriptions below as well as they get released and posted and uploaded, so you can check that out. But I'll touch upon each team. But today we're mainly talking about the bracket and the matchups, right? So this could differ from overall power ranking because obviously there's seeding involved and you don't have too many chances, right? The groups are double elim, but after that, the playoff, it's just you play the semifinals, and if you win, you're going to Madrid. If not, then you're not. So obviously, the bracket has a bit of a play here. But let's go through the group pick'ems, see what we think. And then in case you missed some of the predictions I've made elsewhere, we'll also talk about who I think are going to be the final two. So, Group A. These groups were announced a while back. And, I do think some groups are much better favored. But there's also definitely some semblance of seeding here. Obviously, all of it should be based on last year. So I don't think you can really fault it too much, but it's just how the pieces fall sometimes. First up, Group A, T1 versus Bleed. The Battle of the Reds. Listen. Here, so, okay. Hold on. We're already reeling from what happened, because I just was on Plat Chat last night with my fellow companions Achilles and Paper Thin, and we had a discussion about all the Pacific teams. And for all you Bleed fans, I honestly think they could be rated higher. I think they should be rated higher. I do think it's hard. I think everyone agrees that like 2nd through 8th place in Pacific is pretty hard to pinpoint. I think Bleed is going to surprise a lot of people. However, I don't think they're beating T1. Listen, T1 had so much practice in the offseason. They are obviously very committed to finding a 5 that works, to finding a system that works. Some people raise some questions about the way they went about their roster changes during the offseason. I think that's fair. But at the same time, they're looking for results. So I think everything we've seen is they've had a lot of practice. They're trying to make sure that they find the right pieces to make results happen. And then also they played really well at AVL. Now, I think their biggest weakness that I don't know if they can fix within the month and a half, 2 months that they had after AVL is, again, their game philosophy seems to focus more around this team fight nature, as I like to call it, of, okay, there's a situation, let's gather up our utility and dump it, and that's how we win this fight. Because I think that works up to a certain point. I think it's going to carry them fairly far every time in Pacific, but I don't think it's going to net them, for instance, like a trophy in Pacific, and I don't think it's going to work very well internationally. But that's neither here nor there, because in the groups, they're playing against Bleed, and I think that's going to be good enough to beat Bleed. So T1 wins there, Bleed goes down. Now, Zeta versus Global, I think you have to favor Zeta. Although, now that I'm looking at it, I don't think this is as clear cut. I'm gonna go with Zeta, but I don't know. The safe thing to say is Zeta's gonna need time to grow. I think their potential and their overall power ranking should be fairly high. But in kickoff, I don't know. But then I guess they still have Deplaz and Sugar Zero, so I guess we can't take away too much just because of Hiroran and Yuren and their quote-unquote inexperience. Global esports, someone was reminding me that, and I've mentioned this in the past, I actually think Benkai is going to be one of the fraggers for global esports. Benkai's had moments where he has fragged out for Paper Rex in the past as well. And now that Russ's main IGL. Obviously, Benkai might side call. Everyone on that team can side call. Not exactly sure about Povey, but hopefully he does, because I think Duelist making calls and being very active in comms is crucial in Valorant. But with all that, the less pressure, I think Benkai is going to frag out. But again, I think Zeta comes out a little bit stronger. Depp is a monster. Laz should feel a lot more comfortable. I think the mood in the team is a lot better. Obviously, the coaching staff, it's funny because there's a lot of them, but they're very committed to it, so that's cool. And then Huron and Uran, they're sharp shooters, in my opinion. So I think they should be pretty good. T1 Zeta. Ooh, T1 Zeta. I think T1 wins. The whole, again, dump your utilities to win the fights, and then on top of that, they've all got pretty crispy aim. You got Excurate I think Excurate can combat Laz and Depp in the op division. And then worst case, they also have Saya, right? That can still op as well. So I think that clears it. I think also T1 style, Zeta's style should have changed a lot. And we saw it change a decent amount during the offseason matches as well. But I think T1 style is still going to be favorable against Zeta's. T1's more off the cuff, gather your util, use it in the situation you're faced with. I think that's going to still outpower Zeta. I think Zeta's oftentimes going to be the one starting with lower numbers in the rounds. And then it's going to be hard for them to overcome. So, yeah, and then Carpe and Rossi, yeah, they're going to get 6 more clutches, and then they'll win. So, I think T1, I think Zeta, I don't think it's going to be like a quick, easy 2-0, but I think T1 can definitely beat Zeta. In the lower bracket of this group, Bleed versus GE. It's really rough because I would love to rate GE going further. However, I think Bleed clears purely in the firepower department. Okay, you've got Scary, you've got Ye, you've got Darian, and Egoist, not a bad shout. Crazy Guy, also not a bad shout. I think Global Esports might have, I think their macro is probably going to be better, as much as I've been putting a lot of hope into Crazy Guy's calling and his brains. I don't think it's quite there at that level, but I think purely on the firepower department, I don't think Global Esports is going to find the answers for the likes of Ye, Scary, and Darion. So I think Bleed moves up. Sorry, GE fans. The bracket just doesn't favor GE in this kickoff, all right? That's all I'm going to say. Now, Zeta versus Bleed. I'm going to go with Zeta. I really want to put Bleed above. Then why don't you, William? That's a good question. Why don't I? I'm trying to think. I don't know if this is just like a vibe thing or not. I don't know if I just have an inkling that Zeta is going to beat them out. Man, just the Ye factor, it's so hard to ignore it. The Ye factor is so hard to ignore. It's so hard to ignore because, listen, Ye was one of the bigger, and FNS, but Ye and FNS but a big part of it was Ye was one of the biggest reasons CRX struggled for so long to break out of certain ranks back when Ye was an Optic, right? And Ye did the same thing to a lot of different teams. And it's just, Bleed is good. And then there's Scary, right? It's not just Ye, but it's Scary, it's Darion, and then Crazy Guy. I don't think he's a bad IGL. I don't think he's a bad initiator. I think he's pretty good, actually. And I think Egoist is very solid. I think Egoist is exactly what this team needs to kind of round things out. So, Egoist was, on the one team that continued to give Bleed, a little bit of a run for their money back in Challengers. So, they're a good team, but I feel like as a team, from what we've seen, Zeta should be favored because Depp is also really good. Like, I really don't think, I know that now as things have calmed down and we spent some time, I know enough people are giving him credit and looking at Depp and being like, no, Depp was actually really good in 2023. I think he was insanely good in 2023 in Pacific. I think the only reason Zeta was even in discussion for anything in 2023 was actually largely because of Depp. So Depp's really good, but then it's like, yeah, but would he still clear Ye? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. Ye we used to all say Ye was the best player at the time. It's insane. It doesn't matter if he had a rough year trying to reclaim his reputation. He's still so good. Here's the thing. Bleed will probably play pretty slow. I think they're going to play pretty slow. Zeta used to play really slow. They still had some moments of falling back to that during the offseason, but it does look like they're going to try to improve on it. And it does look like Huron, especially Huron, I would say, is not exactly, he's not content with just sitting back and waiting. So that's good. But is it good? Are they going to get crazy enough and have enough firepower to blast through Bleed? I don't know. I'm gonna need some more data. Oh man. Okay, but this is bracket, right? This is not power ranking. Dude, I'm going to go with Bleed, man. For the bracket, I'm going to go with Bleed. I think I would still rate Zeta higher on an overall power ranking, but I got to go with Bleed in this matchup, man. I can just see it in my head. I can just see Huron and Ura just shaking their boots as they're about to peek into Ye, and they just get slammed. And then if they do get away with their life and they try to clear, Scary's going to come. I can just see it happening, and Zeta's going to have to play this 4v5, 3v5 match. I don't think it's going to be... I think Bleed's going to win. All right? Bleed it is. So T1 and Bleed out of Group A. Submit it. Commit to the bit. All right. Okay. I talked about this briefly on Plat Chat. But how is DRX getting away with this? How in the world is DRX getting away with the two teams that we all think are going to struggle to get a win unless they face each other? How is DRX having both of them in their group? I don't know. I mean, I kind of do know, but it is crazy and ridiculous. There's not even a question. I'm not even rating DRX that highly for kickoff. I think they have a higher ceiling potential, but I think it's going to take some time. I don't rate them that highly, but I don't rate DFM at all because we don't even know who's playing. We don't know what they're playing. And even then, it's not like they have someone like a Ye where we're like, yeah, but he was the best player in the world. No, unfortunately, they weren't. So, end of story. Team Secret versus Talon. Kind of a similar story. I mean, Talon maybe has a bit more firepower on paper individually compared to DFM. A bit more is probably not fair. They probably do have more firepower on paper compared to DFM individually. But they also just added Surf. I really like Surf. I'm glad he's back. I hope this is a really good chance for him because I actually think he has the potential. Honestly, when he first joined Xerxia back when, I used to think this guy's got the ingredients of becoming a star. Like for the region, he has the ingredients. He definitely had the typical problem of overheating, but he was good, and he was, he was animated. He was good. He's very active on social media, although all of it is in Thai, so I have no idea what he's saying. But he had the ingredients to become a star. Then he kind of fell off, and then he's been bench warming. But he's back, so that's cool. But then who's playing what? Is Surf playing Duelist? Because I can't see Surf playing anything else. But does that mean Governor is now off of Duelist? Because it seemed like that's why they brought him in. Because that was enough to convince Ban not to be playing main Duelist anymore. And that's also where Ban used to look the best. Even back on T1, I would say whenever he did get to play the Jet, we were like, oh yeah, this is why Ban used to have a lot of hope and hype behind him. I don't know, right? So I don't know what's going on with Talon. But this is like, we're not even going to get started about Team Secret, because I actually do rate Team Secret fairly high, but it doesn't matter who was on the other side here unless it was DFM. I think they all cleared Talon in this matchup. Mostly because it's all question marks. Maybe they've been cooking something up, and we will be very surprised. Like that guy in Ratatouille. But unless it's that, well, that's not happening. Now, the DRX Team Secret game is very interesting, because I am very inclined to do this. Who plays for DFM? Asked chat. Well, that is a excellent question, because I don't know. Out of these 7 players, who do we think is playing? I mean, supposedly Anthem is inactive, whatever that means, because they decided to at least keep him over from the previous roster. And then there's rumors that the blurry figure next to Neth in the picture from the media day on VCT Pacific Twitter is Medusa. So maybe they have 8 people on this roster. I don't know. I have no idea. So we have no idea what's going on there. Oh, I don't have my notifications up. Oh, Issel, thank you for the 46 months. Well, it's going to be the last one, the last sub on Twitch. But thank you. Thank you for the congrats to the wedding as well. So anyway, going back to it, let's focus on the matter at hand. I am inclined to say Secret beats DRX in kickoff. If this was a regular season, even if Secret did beat them, I think DRX probably comes back and beats Secret just like they did last year. Even with the roster change on DRX, I think they have enough of a very, very reputable core and a coaching staff that they could always come back, even with the younger players and the newer players, and they could beat Secret. Because here's the thing is, Secret seems to be this team that needs a lot of prep. And, you know, if you have to rematch and they bring something new or something like that, I think it's rough. However, they're going to have all the time they need to prep. I mean, sure, you haven't really seen these new iterations of Talon and DRX, but because of that, I can't imagine DRX is going to go off the wall too much during kickoff. If they do, I think it's going to be messy. I don't think the comms are quite going to be there for Foxy 9 and Flashback. Oh, you're right, though. Oh, there's no Haven anymore. But there is Icebox. But DRX also is really... They really did lead the Icebox charge from Pacific. I'm still going to go with Secret. I think Secret can beat DRX here. I think NDG is enough of a firepower upgrade. Again, the biggest question is Jeremy going to, feel comfortable enough by kickoff? I mean, I think he has absolutely all the talent to do it. I think he has all the talent to be that main duelist. And I honestly think he has all the talent to be a main opera as well for the team. But does he feel up for it by kickoff? That's the biggest question in my mind. But I think the prep they're going to do, and just like the consistency that Secret's going to have, because they haven't changed much, it's just one new guy, the ideas are still going to be the same, etc. I think it's going to be enough to carry them above DRX for that one game, because that's all they need to get into the playoffs. We will review all the pick'ems at the end. We already went through Group A, but we'll get back to it. I don't want to keep jumping back and forth. I also wouldn't say DRX got worse. I think they're just going to struggle for a bit early on. Listen, I'm not rating DRX that highly for this year, but I also don't think they necessarily got well, okay, I mean, I guess they technically did get worse because RB and Zest were very, very good players. And they have to rebuild chemistry. So yeah, I guess so. But I don't think it's as big. I just don't rate them as highly. I think the way I put it on Plat Chat was best, where I'm like, they're going to have to work for it, right? I don't think it's a given anymore that they're in the top 2, top 3 of Pacific. But again, just bracket-wise, one match, I think Secret wins. Now, DFM versus Talon, the match of the century, returns after its initial debut in the VCT Pacific LCQ last year, where it was just as not exciting. I honestly... I'm doing this because I think I at least have some idea of what to expect from Talon despite the addition of Surf in this roster juggle. I have no idea what to expect from DFM. And at that point, I mean, I think worst case, if Ban and Governor are just like, dude, we don't know what's going on, and they just kind of duo it up, I think they could still clear DFM with individual firepower at that point. And then Surf just does his own thing with individual firepower, and Jit Boys just sits quietly and anchors down a site. At that point, who's benched, I don't even know, but I think they clear. And because that's the state that Talon's going to be in, I do think DRX clears Talon. So, okay. And the 360 hertz monitors are going to nerf NDG. I am curious, what does that feel like, jumping from 60 hertz all the way up in the year 2024? That is a crazy story. I used to be one of those guys where I was like, dude, I don't care about my equipment. I'm still using this mouse pad that I got for free with my... I don't think it was even my PC, actually. I think it might have been my monitor. I don't even know if it has a brand. It's very dirty. I'm not huge on it, right? I play with Mega High Sense. I'm not huge on equipment, but jumping up from 60 hertz was one of those things where I was like, oh, it is smoother. It's very nice, So I don't know. Is it even confirmed that Foxy plays? Well, it has to be. Oh, because they brought in... No, but they brought another player in for their prospects. It has to be. Foxy has to play. Foxy 9 has to play. It's Foxy 9 in Flashback. I believe they also released... I think DRX... Yeah, DRX also just released a video where they were like, this is DRX for 2024. And it was... I saw the idea they were going for. They were trying to have some... I forget. I think it... Was it Foxy who rang the drums? But anyway, someone was ringing the drums in the in a traditional Korean palace looking place and trying to gather the troops. It was very cheesy, but it was Stax, Buzz, Mako, Foxy 9, and Flashback. Okay, Group C, my favorite group, because I actually think this is going to be the most stacked group in Pacific for kickoff. I don't think anyone can argue against that. If you are arguing against it, it's probably because you're not rating RQ very highly, and you are 100% wrong. So this is definitely the hardest group. RQ versus Gen G. We're going to start with this one. I think RQ clears. People are rating Gen G quite highly, and I think individually they're very strong. But I also think they're going to continue to play fairly slow. And with the addition of Coach Solo, I think they're going to play even slower. And I think RQ is going to target that pretty well. Now, Gen G, everyone on that team has the power to flip the round on its head, right? Literally everyone. And I think that's why Gen G is going to be a scary team. I think that's why they have scary potential, I guess I should say, because Munchkin, well, let's not start with Munchkin. Texture definitely can flip around on his head. Meteor, absolutely, especially if he's got a scope on it. Malakia very clearly has the clutch genes. And Charon, I would say, even proved that he can do that. He got used to the stage real quick at Convergence, and he was gelling real well with the rest of the teammates who have been pros for much longer than him. So that's all good. Munchkin also has a lot of clutch factor. I also don't think Munchkin is consistent enough for that clutch factor to be enough. I think Munchkin's stocks are running out, to be very honest. I think he's still very good. Some people still put Munchkin way up here, and I wouldn't, but he's still very good, right? I mean, this is because we're comparing tier 1 players to tier 1 players, so it's a little brutal. So I'm not saying RQ 100% 2-0s Gen G. There's no way Gen G wins. No, there's absolutely many ways that Gen G wins. But I think if they win, it's going to be off of these clutch moments. I think it's going to be off of these just super highlight plays. But I think RQ this year is strong enough to bounce back from rounds like that. Last year, they were not. Last year, they would get slammed in a couple rounds, and they'd be like, oh, we don't know what's going on, and we're all just going to go out and try to get picks, and we're all going to lose our duels. I don't think that's going to happen anymore with this year's RQ. And I think team-wise, they're going to be able to target Gen G's weaknesses in terms of overall style much quicker. And I think it's going to help a lot, actually, that Estrella's on RQ, and he knows all the players in Gen G and the coaching staff quite well. I think having someone like Jemkin who can carry the round on his back is, again, going to be one of the reasons they're going to be able to bounce back, right? So it's not like RQ's vastly behind in the clutch factor. You've got Jemkin, you've got Xfero, and I think just those two are enough to kind of like balance things out, in that world. So that's why I rate them higher. I also I'm not rating... I'm not rating Gen.G very highly in any ranking, just because I think their strengths are going to be the individual firepower. Their comms looked okay at Convergence. I think what I saw at Convergence from Gen.G was exactly what I thought I was going to get from Gen.G, which was pretty solid play, pretty solid trades, decent comms, some good ops, and a couple clutch moments. And I don't see that really changing much for kickoff. Until a style change comes, I don't see it really changing much. I also don't know. I mean, again, we're all under the assumption that if they're continuing from Convergence, it's going to be Lakia IGLing and then Munchkin perhaps assisting. I don't know if they can handle a style change. But also, will there be a styles change with Solo coming in? I would love to see that. I want Solo to have a style change, but I don't think he's going to. So I think RQ wins. DFM destroyed Gen.G on Fracture 13-4 last year. That is true. DFM played well on that game. That was also a very different Gen.G, but... Anyway, so RQ moves forward, and here's where I throw the entire YouTube universe into disarray, because I'm going to put the reigning champions of VCT Pacific, led by the younger Susanto, who continues to play, now that RB is out, probably has played the most agents in VCT Pacific. They're going to lose to RQ. I'm not even going to expand on it. They're not going to do it. I think RQ is going to win. The reason is I think Paper Rex they're gonna toy with their whimsy a little bit, and it's, listen, honestly, RQ had a good shot. Are people forgetting this? Hold on. Are people forgetting this? Dude, this map too. There was a good shot, RQ. Like, literally, again, nothing against EJ, because I really love the guy. But if you had a duelist that was just much stronger and much more consistent, I think RQ wins this game. Okay, like Devi had some crazy rounds this game on this Pearl. Okay. And if those things, just both of those things changed, and even if Devi continued to have the same game, I think if you have the current roster of RQ in this game, I think they, at the very least, 100% go to Fracture and maybe even win. Okay? I mean, even against something as Reina that kind of shocked the rest of the Pacific, they didn't do poorly. Okay? Like, are you not seeing what I'm seeing? And here's the thing, and it wasn't just because like Omimore dropped a 30 bomb, right? Like, I mean, I shouldn't have opened this because now I feel bad, because what is highlighted is literally if EJ had higher numbers, they would have won. Straight up. Okay? That was last year with what I think is absolutely objectively a weaker roster. I think their roster is 100% stronger. Again, nothing against any individual players, but the individual firepower upgrade plus the stylistic upgrade. Estrella is going to help side call now. I've heard both, during his time on Korean teams and on RQ that this is a very big effect, that his side calling is good. He can also play the likes of KO and these other flash initiators, so they don't have to really kind of worry about how do we fill this initiator slot, right? That seemed to be something they struggled with. I mean, they had Xfero kind of jumping back and forth between smokes and Sova and all that, and flips, jumping back and forth between the breaches and whatnot, and sometimes the Sky, although usually they always had Evan coming in for the Sky. So it helps clear out some of the role issues, the agent pool issues. Estrella's very flexible as well. I mean, he could even help play double duelist if he really wanted. And then you got Jemkin, solid as a rock. Everyone loves to bring up the 0-kill game he had. I mean, I brought it up when I was on the Ascension analyst desk. Yeah, it was a shock, but he also still top fragged, I believe, in the match, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe, no, that's crazy, actually. No, that's insane. That can't be true. Yeah, no, Scary. Oh, yeah, because Scary had like 3 clutches. No, but he by far top frags on the team, despite having 0 kills, okay? You can talk about the 0 kills, or you can look at it in the bigger picture and be like, wow, he totally got absolutely counter-stratted and absolutely targeted, had 0 kills, couldn't do anything, was the laughingstock of this map, and then he still came back and put up a near 30 bomb in 21 rounds. I don't know. Take your pick for the storyline, but I'm taking the one where I say he could have some terrible rounds or maps and he still bounces back to try to carry the team to a win. So I think that's going to be enough. I think this is going to be enough. Now, long term, I think Paperix absolutely is going to be the highest rated team in Pacific. I don't know if they're going to win every finals for 2024, but I think they're going to be the strongest team. But I think this is going to be their phase where they're kind of toying with things, right? And, new patches and whatnot. So they'll come out swinging with a couple interesting things. It might catch people off guard, a couple maps here and there. But Paperix's strength is also more like they just keep grinding. And once they have their own system really locked in, then they can just keep adapting live. And I think RQ's going to clear that. Now, because of that, I think Paperix beats gen.g stylistically. I mean, gen.g firepower-wise, I don't think they really lose hard to Paperix. I think they lose on a couple fronts, but not entirely. But again, I think gen.g is going to play slow textbook Valorant, and I think Paperix is going to say, throw your textbook out the window, as they do with any team they play. And gen.g is going to be like, oh yeah, this is what it feels like to play against Paperix. So I think that's going to happen. Oh, I didn't submit this one. Oops. Cool. So let's review the groups. In Group A, I have T1 beating Bleed and Zeta Division, although I can't imagine either of these matches are going to be complete blowouts. If anything, I think the Zeta Division one might stylistically favor T1 a lot stronger than the Bleed game, but I think T1's going to go out in first. They're going to go into the semifinals. And be one step away from making it to Madrid. I think Zeta is going to beat Global, mostly on the Firepower division, and then lose. But then Bleed's going to have a climb back in the lower bracket. I think Bleed's actually going to beat Zeta division, mostly in the Firepower division. And they're actually going to get out into the play-ins. In Group B, DRX, despite me rating them a lot lower this year because I think they're going to need a lot of time to build up. Obviously, it's still clear DFM because nobody even knows who's playing on DFM. Nobody even knows if they're going to play Valorant this year. So we'll have to figure that out. And then Team Secret, kind of similar story against Talent Esports. But I think Team Secret's consistency carries them over DRX because it's just that one match they need to win. And Team Secret will go into the semifinals. I think DRX still... Again, I cannot believe that they're in the group with DFM and Talon because that all but guarantees them minimum into play-ins, like 100%. So DRX goes into play-in. And then Group C, gen.g RRQ, we just got done talking about it, but again, on paper, here's the thing. I think if you look at it very objectively, I don't think I sound that crazy. I think on paper, it's reasonable for RRQ to be rated higher than gen.g, especially in a single best of 3. However, the biggest question mark that I think everyone has that I think is absolutely fair, and this is where my copium and hopium carries me over just a bit, is we have not seen a single map of RRQ's new roster in the offseason. So I just have no idea if all this theory and paper is going to work out. But I think it should. I don't think it's like crazy going through hoops theory. I think it's actually very objectively on paper, they should look a lot stronger. The RQ over Paperix, yeah, I do think this is a little bit of hopium. But I do believe in it. Not just because I'm like, yeah, let's go RQ. I think that'd be cool. No, I actually think it can happen. But I think Paper X, their whimsy still carries them over Gen G. Now, this would imply... So this would imply that RQ, in my bracket, if it works out, it would be RQ and Team Secret, right? Because I can't do those, right? We have to wait until the matches finish, which I think there's like only a day. So if you do care about your VLR pick'ems, you're going to have to keep track of your time zones. But that would be RQ Team Secret, in which case I would favor RQ. And I think that's where they go to Madrid. And they're finally going. And then, yeah, according to my bracket, it would be Paper X, GRX, and Bleed in the play-ins, which actually, when you really line up those three teams, would be an insane play-in. But I do think their Paper X's whimsy carries them forward, right? I mean, Paper X only has one change, and while Jing was a crazy guy, it's not that far like of a downgrade in any sense, just in certain very micro scenarios. And DRX has 2 roster changes, so I think, and sure, maybe firepower upgrades, but utility downgrades in my opinion. So I think Paper X beats DRX. I think they definitely beat Bleed there as well. So they would move in. And then, like you guys said, it would be the Sazanto Derby again, where Paper X plays T1 again. But Paper X have already shown that they can read through T1 style. So unless T1 comes stylistically very different from AVO, or at least a lot more flexible and diverse, I think teams like Paper X is where T1's buck stops. And that's the thing. I think T1 is absolutely going to be top 3 this year in Pacific. I actually think there's almost no doubt that they're going to be top 3. But I think as soon as they hit like the grand finals, the lower bracket finals in Pacific, or they make it to an international event and they face off against the best of the best, I think that's exactly where their style stops, unless they have a much deeper playbook and style that they can all adapt to, which is not easy. But I'm looking at Xcurit and Rossi actually to be the guys who are going to instate that change. So we'll have to look. This infographic is not correct? No, I think this is correct. But there's a chance that it changes if... So in my bracket, if Bleed wins play-ins, then you'd have to shuffle it. But I think this is currently how it is. But again, in that case, Paper X wins. So to me, my predictions are RQ and Paper X. Who's going to win the grand final? That I don't know. If it's an RQ versus Paper X rematch, maybe Paper X wins. I don't know, actually. That's really hard. But, yeah. I think RQ and Paper X are going to go, and that would be so exciting. So exciting. Oh my gosh, the redemption arc for RQ after being, which I do think was kind of unfair, the insane laughing stock they were at the end of lock-in last year, to be a rep top 2 from Pacific in the first Masters of 2024 would be insane. It would be insane. And I think it's going to happen. Also, mind you, the winner of kickoff gets 3 points. They get 3 champions points, championship points, champion points, I think. This is something we're going to have to start to keep track of this year. And these 3 points could be the deal breaker. So just remember, I think this is the biggest plus side of these champion points is not only does it really favor teams who are more consistent to try to get that chance rather than having a Hail Mary in the LCQ, but it starts to make the grand finals of each, season, kickoff, split, whatever, matter a bit more other than just seeding at Masters. So keep that in mind. Okay, so that's it. RQ and Paper X going to Masters Madrid from Pacific. But again, this is just a bracket. It's in good fun. I agree with everyone that I think overall power ranking, I think Paper X still on top for the foreseeable future for Pacific. And I think 2 through 8 is very, very hard to call, right? Like I don't think even global. I think on Plat Chat we rated global esports at 9th, but I think even global esports could punch up quite well. So yeah, I think Pacific is one of the more like, oof, like anything could happen, which to me makes it very interesting. And it's not just because I cast Pacific. I'm not just trying to be like, Pacific's the best. I mean, in terms of overall peak power, clearly we never were. But I think it's going to be very interesting. I think there's going to be a lot to look forward to. And I think it's going to be a good region to watch if you want to see, okay, who adapts the fastest, who improves the fastest. So we'll see. That's it for my pick'ems for VCT Pacific playoffs. Let me know down below. Link your pick'ems. Go do them right now. Let me know what you think is going to happen in VCT Pacific. Let me know who you think is making it to Masters Madrid. Will PaperX go there again? Is DRX, for the first time in a couple of years, not going to be at an international event? Who knows? Would love to hear your thoughts. But aside from that, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for everyone, as always, who continues to follow the channel and subscribe. Make sure you subscribe if you want to see more, and leave a like and a comment on the video, as that helps a lot. Until next time, I'll see you then.